The story kicks off with Stephen Murphy, a renowned cardiothoracic surgeon. He's brilliant in the operating room, but his demeanor is cold, detached, even towards his family. To Stephen, life seems like a mechanical process, and he carries himself with an almost godlike arrogance. But his perfect clinical world begins to unravel in ways he never anticipated. One day, Stephen meets a peculiar young man named Martin, with whom he has an unusual connection. The two frequently meet, exchanging formal pleasantries. Martin seems like an innocent yet awkward individual, but there's an unsettling undertone to his behavior. We learn that Martin's father died in a tragic accident, a fact Stephen shares casually with others. Yet the nature of their bond remains ambiguous. Stephen maintains a similarly distant relationship with his family. His wife, Anna, is also a doctor, and their interactions are devoid of warmth. Their children, Kim and Bob, hardly seem to bridge the emotional gap. However, things take an odd turn when Stephen invites Martin to his home for lunch. During the visit, Martin charms the family, even striking up a connection with Kim. Martin reciprocates by inviting Stephen to his house for dinner. Here we meet Martin's mother, who seems overly eager to make Stephen feel welcome. As the evening progresses, things take an awkward turn when Martin's mother makes inappropriate advances towards Stephen, leaving him disgusted and eager to leave. He keeps this disturbing incident to himself but starts to pull away from Martin entirely. But Martin isn't ready to let go. He calls Stephen repeatedly, waits for him at restaurants, and even befriends Kim, growing alarmingly close to her. The young man's behavior becomes increasingly erratic, and it's clear that his attachment to Stephen goes far beyond simple admiration. One morning, Stephen's son, Bob, wakes up unable to move his legs. Alarmed, Anna and Stephen rush him to the hospital. But to their confusion, the neurosurgeon finds no medical explanation. Bob's legs are physically fine. Despite the clean bill of health, Bob remains paralyzed, setting off a chain of bizarre and terrifying events. The next day, Martin visits Bob in the hospital. On his way out, he calls Stephen to meet him in the canteen, where he finally reveals the chilling truth. Martin explains that his father didn't die in a car accident, as Stephen claimed. Instead, his father passed away on Stephen's operating table during a heart surgery. Martin accuses Stephen of negligence, believing he's responsible for his father's death. What comes next is horrifying. Martin coldly delivers an ultimatum. To balance the scales, Stephen must kill one member of his own family. If he refuses, his family will succumb to a mysterious illness with 4 distinct stages: paralysis of the legs, loss of appetite, bleeding from the eyes, death. Martin declares, "This is my revenge, and I will see it through." His words are haunting, and the surreal nature of the situation leaves Stephen in disbelief. As a man of science, Stephen dismisses Martin's claims and seeks logical explanations, but his confidence is shattered when Bob stops eating the very next day, progressing to the second stage of the curse. Meanwhile, Martin grows closer to Kim, Stephen's daughter. Their bond deepens, and it becomes clear that Martin is infatuated with her. But before long, Kim also succumbs to paralysis, landing her in the hospital alongside Bob. The eerie sequence of events forces Stephen to confront the grim possibility that Martin's threats are not just empty words. That night, Stephen confesses everything to Anna: Martin's accusations, his demands, and the unfolding tragedy. He explains that Martin is seeking retribution for his father's death, yet Stephen adamantly denies any wrongdoing during the surgery. Torn between his belief in science and the harrowing reality, Stephen is left grappling with an impossible choice. As the curse tightens its grip on his family, Stephen must decide whether to cling to reason or surrender to the inexplicable. The next day, Kim received a phone call from Martin, who was standing outside the hospital. He told her to look out the window. Miraculously, Kim regained control of her legs, got out of bed, and walked to the window. But as soon as Martin hung up, her legs became paralyzed again and she collapsed. Anna witnessed this strange event and started to believe that Martin might possess supernatural powers. Desperate for answers, Anna visited Martin's house to confront him. Anna pleaded with Martin, saying, "If my husband is at fault for your father's death, why take it out on me and the kids?" But Martin coldly replied, "This is justice. Your husband killed my father. Now, he must choose which of his family members will die." Meanwhile, Anna began digging into Stephen's past. She confronted one of his colleagues about Stephen's behavior during the surgery on Martin's father. To her shock, she learned that 3 years ago, Stephen was a heavy drinker and had performed the surgery while intoxicated. Devastated by this revelation, Anna returned home to find that their children were getting worse despite leaving the hospital. Overcome with guilt and desperation, Stephen decided to take matters into his own hands. He kidnapped Martin, beat him brutally, and demanded to know if Martin truly had supernatural powers. But Martin remained calm, warning Stephen, "You can kill me, but this curse won't end. Your time is running out." Meanwhile, the children learned about Martin's ultimatum and the horrifying reason for their suffering. Instead of uniting in their fear, Kim displayed a selfish and cold-hearted attitude. She told her brother Bob, "Mom and Dad will probably choose you to die. Oh, and when you do, can I have your MP3 player?" Yes, it's 2017, and Kim still wanted an MP3 player. Kim also had a backup plan. She believed Martin would protect her if she survived. Despite being paralyzed, she dragged herself to Martin, hoping to strike a deal. She told him, "Fix my legs, and I'll stay with you. We'll leave together, get married, and live happily ever after." But Martin ignored her entirely, leaving Kim to realize that he had no intention of helping her. Feeling betrayed, Kim tried to escape the house, but Stephen and Anna stopped her and brought her back. The family's unity continued to crumble as Anna blamed Stephen for everything. The tension between them escalated, with Anna convinced that Stephen's negligence had caused this nightmare. In a twisted turn of events, Anna's happiness takes a dark path when she suggests to Stephen that they should choose one of their children to die. She advises him not to get too emotionally attached, reasoning that they could always have more children. This chilling conversation highlights the family's descent into survival mode, where everyone is solely focused on saving themselves. The next morning, Anna realizes their children aren't recovering, even after they kidnap Martin, the mysterious cause of their suffering. Desperate, she lets Martin go. However, things take a horrifying turn when their son Bob begins to bleed from his eyes, signaling that the final stage of the curse is near. Panic consumes the family, and Stephen faces the unbearable decision of choosing one child to sacrifice in order to break the curse. Instead of making a direct choice, Stephen ties his family to chairs, blindfolds himself, and brings out a rifle. He spins in circles, firing randomly. The third shot tragically strikes Bob, killing him. Overcome with guilt, Stephen realizes he could have chosen Bob without resorting to such a horrific method, but now he must live with the fact that he killed his own son. With Bob's death, the curse is lifted, Kim recovers and can walk again. Sometime later, the family revisits the diner where Stephen and Martin once met. To their surprise, Martin is there. As the family hastily leaves, Kim glances back at Martin and smiles, hinting that she still harbors feelings for him, even though her own brother died because of him. Hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, share your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe to our channel for more great content. Thank you for watching.